Not seen part 1 yet, make sure you check that out. I bought this forklift for $400 knowing it had a bad transmission. Got it home, diagnosed it, and figured out that there was something wrong with the clutches and it needed to be pulled. Once I got the transmission completely tore apart and I tore apart the clutch assembly, I found that the clutch plates were trash. Oh! And that brings us to where we are today. Alrighty guys, so today is just gonna be a cleaning day. I got all the parts ordered, so while I wait, I figured I may as well clean up the forklift, clean up the engine, the transmission, the differential, so that way everything is pretty much ready to go once the parts come in. Got this thing outside. I did have a little mishap where it fell off the dolly I was pushing it on, but we are good to go now. Everything's plugged. Let's get her cleaned up. I am an absolute mess, but check out how good everything else came out. And I just want to say that I wouldn't recommend to anybody just pressure washing everything the way I did, but I did go ahead and try to take as many precautions as I could. I tried to plug up all the little areas, all the hoses that I thought I did not want to get water in. And then on the transmission, after I got that wash, I sprayed everything down with some fresh ATF to keep it from rusting. And then on the forklift, since I sprayed all the joints and all those grease points, I am going to be greasing those. That way I can push out any water that may have gotten in there. So I'm still waiting on a ton of parts, but I do got spark plugs, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these old ones replaced. Alrighty guys, so it is the very next weekend, which is super exciting because I spent all last week ordering all the parts I needed for this forklift. They finally came in, which means we should be ready to build this thing. But first, let me show you what I got. We'll start with the transmission. If you're wondering what $1,100 worth of transmission parts looks like, well, it fits in this box. So yeah, you're looking at $1,100 right here. We got the transmission control valve kit. This isn't gonna get installed right away, so I'm gonna set this aside. I may end up rebuilding that later. We got the transmission gasket and seal kit that will be going in. New clutch plates, both the steel plates and the actual clutch plates themselves, which look so much better than the ones we pulled out. And then we got a complete set of bearings. And stuff is just absolutely everywhere in this garage. We got all the old forklift parts sitting there. All new fluids, and if we head outside, brand new radiator. We got tie rod ends, I'll get into why I got those. Axle seals, we got a muffler, belts, all the filters we're gonna need, and we even got a rebuild kit for one of the cylinders. So last week I left off working on this engine, so I do wanna just change the oil and change the belt real quick, and then this whole thing will be done. Yeah, I'll either really crank that puppy on. Phew. And looking over all the fluids in this forklift, it did look like they just replaced them all fairly recently. So I'm not super concerned, but I also don't know when that was, and I don't know what kind of fluids or anything they use. So I'm gonna go ahead and just redo it. That way I know exactly what I have and I know exactly when it was done. I think I'm gonna start pulling the engines out of vehicles before doing the oil change because this is by far the easiest one I have ever done. Up in here, this alternator, this is where you adjust the belt tension, and we are completely maxed out, and this belt is still very loose. So I'm hoping that the new belt is either the correct size or it's just not as stretched as this belt is. So I'm soaking those clutch plates. From what I've researched, there's absolutely no downside to soaking them. Some people say you don't have to soak them, you can just throw them right in, but if there's no downsides, then why not do it? I'm not in any rush. I'm gonna try to take my time with this thing and do it right. But if you remember, behind this cover here, there is a strainer that was all clogged up. I am not able to find that strainer anywhere, so I'm hoping I can pull it out and clean it up. So I actually just took this thing outside and hit it with a garden hose and it cleaned up so well. And of course I'm gonna be replacing all these O-rings as I go. Really unfortunate. So here's the old seal and it had this metal housing. Here's the new one and this same part is made out of rubber. So as I was driving it down in, it got caught and it tore here and it also tore here. So I'm on hold till I get another one of these seals. But it's not all bad news. This pump actually looks really good. Absolutely no rust in here whatsoever, and I don't see any signs of wear. So I'm gonna keep rolling with this thing, try to make as much progress as possible while we wait on those parts. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull off these bearings here on this torque converter component, and then we'll go ahead and move over to that whole clutch pack assembly. We are getting so close. So this clutch is completely rebuilt. I got this torque converter flipped upside down. I'm trying to get as much of the fluid out as possible. These things just hold so much. So once we get that seal for the pump, we'll be ready to put this transmission back together and hopefully start getting this thing reassembled. It is the very next weekend and those seals did come in. They're actually chilling in the freezer right now. I figure if I can get them as small as possible, might make them easier to put in. And you might notice that this engine is now on a stand. That's because we got some oil on the floor and it is actually dripping from the bottom of this pan. Now this doesn't use a traditional gasket, it uses RTV, which means I gotta drain all that oil that I literally just put in here, but it's gotta get done and it's gonna be a lot easier to do it with this engine outside of the forklift as opposed to after I put it in. So I'm gonna bounce back and forth. While that oil is draining, I'm gonna go ahead and install the new seal. We'll see how it goes. Oh man, that one went in so smoothly. Freezing it definitely seemed to help. All right, rebuilding this should be as easy as just installing these little gear teeth things that we took out. And of course installing the new O-ring. All of the bolts that hold the transmission pump on there have these copper washers, so those will all get replaced. And also lucky for me, because I didn't pay attention to the orientation when I pulled this thing off, based on the bolt pattern, it looks like you can only bolt this up a certain way. All right, so it's finally starting to feel like I'm making a ton of progress on this. I'm gonna go ahead and flip this down and we will put all the guts of the transmission back in here and mate it to the differential. All right, so I rigged up a ratchet strap on this side of the differential to hold that flat. Should make it easier to set down. I need to try to put this down as carefully as possible and not ruin this gasket. I don't know why you guys, but I was feeling pretty confident with this until I had to smack that down with the hammer. We're gonna keep rolling now. All right, keep turning it. Right there. Yeah, high enough? I'd go a little higher.
How's yours on the other side?
I think the wheel's about to drop off the plywood in the front.
Okay.
I don't know if we have the reach. Oof, we need this to go a lot more forward. And it's gonna hit here. Because if we make this back shorter, this hook it'll be hanging back. So then
we want to go.
I'd go as tight as you can. Yeah, this wheel over here sunk into the asphalt. We need more. A lot more. Up or down?
Down a little. Just a little.
Making some progress. Now the big issue we ran into is that we seated the whole engine forward and then the engine mounts didn't line up back here. So we did have to unbolt that from the differential and pull that engine back to get those motor mounts. But now all that's hooked up. Started working on the wiring, new radiator, all the hydraulic stuff's in. They get stuck in there.
I'll say, man.
They don't make it out.
That's a big one.
They do not make it out. Moment of truth. I'm about to be happy or very upset. The wheels are not spinning. Oh, I got the stupid e-brake on. All right, so I think a lot of that transmission fluid went to the torque converter. So this is gonna be take 2, but we're gonna have the e-brake off this time. This throttle's not returning the whole way. Yeah. So that's forward. Neutral. Reverse. Don't know what that is. It's either that or it's not the torque converter. So Dad came over yesterday and helped me just knock this thing out. So everything is back in it. You saw it, it appears to be working. So we're gonna get it on the ground today, but first I'm gonna take care of these steering wheels back here. Let me show you. Yeah, so it's not supposed to be like that. So I got new tie rods, spherical bearings, and pins, and I'm hoping that's all I'm gonna need to get this done. Yeah, that's pretty worn. Nice groove through the old one there. So the new bearings installed, and you can see that that hole is a little bit oblong, so this piece is wore out, but I think we're gonna throw it back together the way it is. Another interesting thing is these old pins have a hole for the grease to come out of, and it goes in the top here. So the new ones have the hole for the grease to go in, but then on the actual pin themselves, there is no hole for the grease to come out. So that's actually not gonna do anything. Got the wheel straight, and this is gonna be my redneck alignment. I think it'll get it close enough. Not perfect, but I would say that is a massive improvement. Time to get this thing on the ground. One more issue before I take it on its maiden journey is this throttle right here is not returning the entire way. This needs to be able to go the whole way up, so I'm gonna figure that out real quick. So all I did was change the angle of this little cable bracket down here, and now it seems like that throttle is returning the whole way. Now, that might help. I'm new to forklift driving, not gonna lie. That thing's awesome. All right, we're gonna head out to the road, give her an actual test.
Shakes.
Sounds good. All right, so we actually have multiple leaks. So I'm gonna try to move this as quickly as possible. We'll see if it can even do it. So it lifts it, I just can't steer it. So it is gonna have to sit right there. All right, so all that's coolant. This thing is leaking like crazy. So if this looks kind of sketchy, that's because it is kind of sketchy.